Hey, I'm back with another one, another love lesson. And this week, we are talking about why the fairy tale never happened. So, I thought it would be more than appropriate to bring on Pastor Dobbins to talk about this. Hey, Mike, with me because just of some of the questions that I've personally had over the years. And I thought that he could bring a fresh perspective to it. Hey, Romero. And I'm going to, let me see, he's probably going to come on like, yeah, any minute now. He should be on. Hey, Andrea. But for anybody that sees this and has never seen this before, then I just want to, hey, Steve. I wanted to let you guys know why I'm doing this. So I'm doing this because I am preparing to write another book. Hey, Michaela. So my first book was called There's More in You. And Pastor Dobbins actually wrote the foreword in that book. So it's really fun to talk to him again as I am preparing to write another one. Who else is on here? Hey, Sam. Hey, Rodney. So this is like my pre-writing because some people, hey, Autumn, some people I think they're taking it like, oh, it's, all these posts about love, like, does she need a man or something? No, that's not why I'm posting. That's not what I would do. That's not my style at all, but I'm posting because I really want to learn what other people's views are. I'm fleshing out my own thoughts about different things. So that's why I'll post some things about relationships, just so that I can really get to know what's going on with people. Like, what are people having trouble with? And then that also helps me to get a focus for my book. So that's why I'm posting things about that. There he is. So I'm gonna go ahead. I missed a few people, but definitely feel free to say hey. I'm gonna bring Pastor Dobbins on. Good evening. Hey, Michelle. I don't know if I spoke to you. Hey, Miss Abdul. So I'm just waiting for him to come on. There he is. How you
Good
doing?
evening. I'm doing good, doing good. Just had to find the live stream and get connected here.
Yes. So hopefully it's better. I'm using my phone instead of the computer. One of these days I'll get a tripod and like actually. But I did already explain to people who are listening that this is pre-writing for my book that I'll start writing next year. And I told them how you wrote the foreword of There's More in You. So it's kind of fun that we're talking again as I'm preparing to write another one. So I thought that this topic would be perfect for you with the pastor hat on because of my experience with I kind of felt away. So I know I can basically say things however I need to say it to you and you'll be able to handle it. So I kind of felt away about how the church treats women in regards to marriage, because, and I'm getting personal here, but I don't really care about telling my business at this point because I'm healed, so it's good. So, so when I went through the divorce, I really was not ready to like get into anything else. I really wasn't. Even though the time was going by and time was going by, I just felt in a sense almost, and I know it was not the intention, and I know you can't speak for every church. The church is us, so I get that. But I feel like there's a theme within churches. So I kind of felt pressured to find or be found. And I knew that I wasn't, like, I had prayed about it and I knew that I was not ready. And God told me as soon as I got divorced, it's going to be a while. And I was kind of upset by that answer because my ex-husband he was already living with somebody before we even was officially divorced. So I was like, well, I don't want, I'm fine with not being with them, but come on, Andrea's saying there's feedback or static. I don't know. I can hear a little bit of it. Do you hear it? Anything going on in
Uh,
your background?
nope.
No? Okay.
Nope. I'm in a room. Nope.
Yeah, okay. I don't know. So if anybody else,
What is it hissing or
I don't know, Andrea, just let us know in the comments. We definitely want people to, she said it stopped.
okay?
Okay.
It's, okay.
So, so yeah, it was like they would be like, all in the church that I was in at that time. Okay, all the single women that's praying for a husband, do you guys come up to the altar? And because I was single, I felt like if I just sat there, you know what I mean? Like that they would give me the side eye, like, you ain't got no man. Like, y'all are not together. So you need to be at the altar. I just felt like it wasn't like they said it, but I just felt pressure to move on and I wasn't ready. And I think I caused myself pain because I didn't listen to what God was saying. So I was like, I felt pressure from church. I felt pressure from my friends. Like, um, you need to find somebody, especially when people do approach you and they say, what you doing single? And, stuff like that. And I wanted to talk
Hmm.
about it because I I don't want I at least want to be a message out there for single women or men even that need to heal when they've been in, like, maybe it was an abusive relationship, or they've dealt with some trauma. It's not wise to get right back out there, even if it's been a year, even if it's been 2 years, you know what I mean, because there's not a limit on that. So I just wanted to
Hmm.
hear from you, like, what your thoughts were for how people can deal with this, especially people that do attend church regularly, or maybe they're feeling pressure from their friends. I don't know.
Well, that's good. I mean, you actually touched on a point in leading up to this, and that is healing.
Mhm.
Healing is important, as is with any type of injury. The healing process takes time. A lot of time, people are not tapped into, I guess would be a good word for that, to the healing process or the time in which it will take in order for God to properly heal. Because sometimes those wounds that actually happen because of the relationship,
Mhm.
the brokenness that takes place, there are multiple injuries that have occurred in that person's life due to the divorce, the failed relationship, what have you. And because those injuries are multiple, sometimes people will tend to only focus on what is, I guess, the surface issue,
Mhm.
and not realize that there was a compound fracture.
Mhm.
Glory. Uh, Sometimes we just want to put a band-aid on the problem because there was a scratch, a cut, or something that was visible on the surface. We want to put a band-aid or wrap a bandage around it when not actually putting that thing in traction or keeping it in a place where it cannot be moved or let alone touched.
Mhm.
And see, this is where people fail sometimes to really get reconnected with God. God is wanting us to reconnect with Him so that He can properly restore, renew, and revive us. Because many times people become dead to even the thought of being in a relationship. Many times people
Yeah.
feel as if though they have not actually been properly aligned even. If you think about it, if you have a broken bone in your body
Mhm.
that you don't allow to either one get set or heal properly, what oftentimes happens when pressure is put on that particular joint or bone?
Yeah.
It
Hurts.
hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts. it causes you to limp. It causes you to react to things differently or funny. People
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, why you acting funny? Why you see funny? Why does that bother you? Why is it that this is an issue with you? And people don't realize sometimes because they've only been addressing the surface issue or
Mm-hmm.
the surface. This hurt, this pain goes deeper than what people really a lot of times would want to even let on. Many times people feel like the failed relationship, the failed marriage is a direct result or a reflection, if you will, of who they really are.
Yeah, that's common.
Fact, that's not the case. That right there is the lie, is the deception that the enemy has used to cause people to stay stuck, in lessons on the side of the road or even off the map.
Mm-hmm.
Need to realize that they are who God called them to be. God called them healed. Why is that, you say? Because the Bible teaches us that by his stripes we are healed.
Mm-hmm.
You're already healed. Is sometimes you just have to get in a place of agreement. Agreement with God. Agreeing that, you know what, when I look in the mirror, I am beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
See, the world teaches us, or you have seminars that people go to about the PMA, positive mental attitude. Positive mental attitude is what we are taught through seminars and through these various things. But really, the basis of all of those workshops are rooted and grounded in where I just made up a new word there, rooted.
That's all right now.
Grounded and rooted in the Word of God. Because we are able to reconnect with God, how do we do that? We do that by, first of all, repenting of the very thing that we went opposite of,
Mm-hmm.
and that was His will. We oftentimes say, Lord, not my will, but your will be done.
That's really
Many
good.
relationships, many relationships find themselves in trouble. And I oftentimes speak to this fact when I do marriage coaching, and that is in and around communication. I just said this on Sunday, and I used a phrase from an
Mm-hmm.
old movie called Walking Tall. What we have here is a failure to communicate.
Yeah. Yeah.
People, they've lost sight of how to really communicate. And that reason why they've lost sight on how to communicate, Deidre, is this one thing right here. How to pray effectively. People have lost sight of how to pray. Understand that when we pray, we are communicating with God. This is our communication.
Mm-hmm.
This is a tool that we use to communicate with God. But because we have not properly or effectively communicated with God on every issue, on every situation or circumstance, we find ourselves in these situations where we get hurt,
Mm-hmm.
where we feel like we're less than, where we get the mindset that I didn't deserve that, or maybe it was my fault.
Mm-hmm.
All of these are lies from the enemy. And truth be told, if we were to properly communicate with God on this matter, He would let you know just what it is that He has called you. He called you blessed and highly favored. He called you beautiful. He called you the apple of His eye. He called you from amongst the
Mm-hmm.
crowd. There is purpose in you, and I mean, now, taking a phrase off of this one author that I know, said there is more in you.
I've got a question though. I'm gonna get to the stuff that people don't say, but I know they're thinking it. So,
Hmm.
because one of my girlfriends, she told me this. So she said that she was definitely sold and she was all in as far as seeking God, what you were saying. And
Hmm.
she said she abstained for 10 years. And she was focusing on her son, because I've been told that as well. They would say,
Hmm.
you just need to focus on God, and you just need to maybe, take care of your children if you do have children, and you don't need to
Mm-hmm.
be worried about no relationship, nothing. And that makes sense to me, and it makes sense to her. And then in my case, I was married, so it's a different situation. I was married and then divorced, so I already kind of
Mm-hmm.
had some experience, but a woman that is single and has never been married, and I do have a couple friends in that, that fall into that category. I feel like it's a
Mm-hmm.
different kind of a situation where they're like, well, I was waiting, what if it never comes? Like, what if I am like praying to God, and I'm abstaining, I'm like, I'm doing everything I know to do, and they feel like life is just gone. Like her whole she I think she did it throughout her all of her 30s. So now she
Mm-hmm.
feels like, well, my little bit of youth, now I'm in the 40s and up, and now I'm 50, and it's still the same, situation. So I really didn't know what to say, as a,
Mm-hmm.
because I thought that was a really good point. She did say this. Now, I don't know with other women, what their situation was. She felt like she wasn't as focused on God as she could have been, but
Mm-hmm.
she did she did abstain. Like, she was abstinent. She was not pursuing any relationships. Her the father of her child had died, so she was like giving
Mm-hmm.
herself time to heal and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I definitely
Okay.
wanted to talk about this because while, like, when fairy tales, they never happen, the fact of the matter is that we live in reality. The fact of the matter is that we are in a partnership with God. So we don't get to say when it's going to happen. But I feel like those that wait so long and they're trying to do things according to the Bible, it gets really hard for them, and they don't really want to say that. They just want to, pretend like I'm still, yeah, holding on. But on the inside, they're like, I don't know if this fairy tale, this little thing I got going on in my mind, I don't know if this is ever going to come to pass.
Right, right. You still holding on, baby?
I still
I
hold
still
on.
get holding
Give me my
on.
dollar.
Oh my gosh. You know what? This is so amazing because in relationships we oftentimes think that um, we need somebody,
Yeah.
and the place that oftentimes is, I guess you can call it, that we concentrate on, it's that feeling that people are looking for
Mhm.
as far as connection with someone.
Yes.
And when they don't find that feeling, they get a sense that maybe there's something wrong with them, or maybe they're missing something.
Yeah.
What I have found, or what I've learned actually over the years, is that that place that's on the inside of us that really no hand or man or woman can really truly honestly touch,
Mhm.
is that space that has been reserved for our connection with God. See, there's a
Yeah.
certain amount of confidence that one has when they're confident in knowing who God has created them to be. And oftentimes people go, well, they actually are put under attack based on their character. They're attacked on their character. That is, in fact, who they actually are.
Mhm.
Character is the charred image. It's that image in which God has created for us to and actually walk in. And the enemy tries to come against that character, or that person who, or that personification that you are,
Mhm.
and try to convince you that you are not,
Mhm.
that there's something flawed or something wrong with you. But when we again, and again, what I base comments and things that I say, on the word, because that's my source. That's what I have to go back to.
Yeah.
You know, I recall reading in the word, and not to go too deep or anything, but everything that God created was good.
Mm-hmm.
If God knows the thoughts and the plans that he has towards me, thoughts and plans that were good and not of evil, thoughts that were designed and intended to give me an expected end, why why then am I inundated with these thoughts that I'm less than, or even more so insignificant,
Mm-hmm.
according to what God has already said?
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I came to the realization that this was the enemy's job,
Yeah.
his job to convince me that I was not who God said that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And when people began to think that there's something wrong with them, this is where I know that even when we say that we are focusing on something other than a relationship,
Yeah.
I then ask the question, well, then what are you really focusing on?
Mm-hmm.
And you said something here that was, and I'll just recall that and restate that your friend was talking about she was focusing on her son or on her child
Yeah.
and pouring her energy and efforts in that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people do things like that, but really what they're doing is they're putting something in place of the bombardment that the enemy is constantly throwing at them.
Mm.
And it's really what it serves as is really a distraction. The bombardment still hits you. The fiery darts are still hitting you. And it's just now that you're trying to use something as a distraction to make
Okay.
you look away from that onslaught that is still coming. There's still a charred side of you that have been affected by the fiery darts that the enemy has been throwing.
Got it.
The fiery darts that are trying to, in an attempt to change the image
Mm-hmm.
that God created in you. So
Mm-hmm.
that when you look back at what you think you see and that which the enemy is constantly telling you that you are,
Mm-hmm.
it causes people to get the misconception or the misperception of who they really are.
Mm-hmm.
But not only that, it also causes them to nullify, forfeit, and even deny the power that's working on the inside of them.
That was it.
I would say submit this to people that are still yet struggling with what do I do next? What is it that I can do to
Mm-hmm.
bring the tail?
Uh-oh, it paused. So we are
Oh,
waiting. Okay, it
yeah, my
paused. I'm
video.
not sure what happened.
Yeah, I know. I had some motion. My motion sensor. I have Ring. It's connected to my. I'm on my phone too, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So all my. Yeah, yeah. So, but no. What happens is that we lose sight of, or we get distracted by these things that the enemy is throwing at us,
Mm-hmm.
and it causes us to lose sight of who God has really called us to be and who
Okay.
we really are. And by saying that, I want to focus in on something else,
Mm-hmm.
when the truth of the matter is that is exactly what the enemy wants you to do. He wants you to focus on something else other than the source. And the source of where we get our real power from is that from God. Because see, God, the Holy Spirit will constantly remind you of just who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And see, here's the thing. When I recall the encounter that Ruth had with Boaz,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times, I with single women, ladies, yeah, I hear this all the time. I'm waiting for my
Oh my
Boaz.
goodness.
I'm waiting for my Listen, Ruth was doing something.
She was working.
You study that and look at that. Ruth, not only was she working, but she had effective communication with God.
Mm-hmm.
She went to him constantly, daily, as she was working.
Mm-hmm.
and began to declare the favor of God.
Mm-hmm.
And what is it that she found? She found what she began to declare. Oh, God
Yeah.
Almighty. The Bible teaches us that she found favor.
Yes.
Boaz looked at her, and something on the inside of Boaz clicked because Boaz was a man who was about business.
Right.
And he saw something in Ruth. He saw the connection
Mm-hmm.
because she was connected with the source, the Father, the one who gave him the understanding of who he is, the Father who gave him the understanding
Mm-hmm.
about the job that he was supposed to do. He was out there dressing the field, making sure the field was taken care of, the field was
Mm-hmm.
plenteous. And when he looked up and saw that somebody was working in the garden, somebody was taking care of what the Father had entrusted in him, he said, wait a minute.
I see something.
Who is that?
Right.
See, your Boaz has been looking for you. But the issue has been the enemy has been using distractions to keep you out of the position that God intended for you to
Mm-hmm.
be in so that Boaz could find you.
But here's my thing. That was really, 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 really good. So let me acknowledge that. But I am so sick and tired of women having that mindset. I'm just waiting for my Boaz. Will you get a purpose and get your entire life and focus on God and be done? Because for me, because I mean, I may still have ego issues I'm working through, but it's like as a woman, there's so many things that we can do. And it's like when the time is right, he will find you. You know, you should not
There it
be
is.
as a single woman like out here like, okay, I'm trying to get a man. And I
Mm-mm.
hate that society puts us in that mindset of like, oh, you need to get a man or you less than. So I love what you were saying about that is what we're fought with on in our
Mm-mm.
minds. And I feel
Mm.
like even with my friend, as I was reflecting on what you were saying, that she did not beat those demons, if you will. So she did not win that fight in her mind of who she was, like finding out who she was and walking within the true power that she had. Like she never really got to that place. So
Mm.
that's why the fairy tale never happened. Not saying it can't, but that
Oh,
I see that because even with talking to her, that's still working through the confidence issues that comes through God, you know, and knowing who you are and knowing um what how much power you have. Like you, it's just amazing when you have God on the inside of you and you don't have to feel lonely when God is resting on the inside of you because all you have to do is connect to the source. So it's
mm-hmm.
funny how you when you said about really using those things as a distraction because you don't really want to do the real work. And why? Because it hurts. Like it really does. Like
Oh,
I'm not gonna make it seem like it's always just easy, like to face your demons, you know, and stand
yeah.
up and stand tall and say, you know what, I know who I am. You know, I know my purpose. I know I'm here to do something. You know what I mean? Like it's so hard to do that, but it we can do all things. You know what I mean? So I think a lot
That's
of
right.
people they're scared, and I was. But I know I'm not the only one. If anybody's on here, give me a heart for that one. I need to feel some support because I was
Need
definitely
some support on that
scared. You had to push me because I was like I know that there's more in me, but this is a lot, you know. This is a whole lot. Thank you, Jerry, for that because I was
one. Oh, yeah.
feeling out here. I was feeling mighty lonely. I was feeling mighty lonely. Thank you.
They throw them hearts out there. That, yeah, that's some good
Yeah,
stuff here.
because I
You know
mean,
what?
it's